Hey, Sherry.
Sam,
How
how are
you?
you?
Good. How about you?
I'm so happy to meet you today.
Yes, nice to meet you, Sherry.
Hey, do you mind that I'm recording?
Not at all.
Okay. I
All right.
love your coffee.
Good. Glad to hear. Yeah, I ground some this morning of the same batch, and smells great. So,
Have you had any yet?
pardon me.
Have you had any yet? Cheers to you.
Yeah.
Mmm.
Mhm.
I don't know what you did, but this is so good.
You know, I don't know enough about it yet to know why it consistently tastes so much better, other than to say very little time has passed, since it was roasted, and I get the best beans I can, and mostly I can't remember which kind this is. So,
Oh, darn, you can't?
what did it say on the label? Do you know?
Oh, I don't know. And I threw it away when I put it in the glass jars.
Okay, it
Darn.
it's probably Yurga Yurga Chef from Ethiopia. So, and, a high mountain coffee, very hard beans. And, so yeah. Anyway, it's just kind of a new hobby, and I'm really enjoying it. So
So, yeah, Sam, can we just start with a tiny little 10-minute talk about it so that I can then use that? Is that
terrific.
because I have to tell you, I have told so many people about what you're doing, and everybody is it's really touches them.
Yeah, it's very sweet to me. Very sweet to meet with you. So yeah.
So I guess we should officially tell people because I want to use this. So you and
Right.
I, here we go. Let's start with our coffee toast.
Okay.
Here's to you, Sam Beasley, for your beautiful heart
And
and yummy coffee.
Sherry, to new friendship.
Mmm. I will drink to that. And I want you to know I'm using a very special cup that my friend Rachel in France sent me 30 years ago.
Wow.
This is my very special loving mug from Rachel. And so I thought that would sort of layer a gift on a gift
Mhm.
and give it some special meaning. So, yeah, so Sam, what are we doing? Why are we sitting here sipping coffee together?
Well, um, I I really enjoyed meeting you the first time we did an interview, and so I've it would be so simple to just completely isolate during this virus, but I love people, so I've been asking people, how do they like coffee roasted, and it's my new hobby, and then I roast it however they like it. I keep part of the batch, send them the rest, and then have video coffee with them, and we're both drinking from the same batch of coffee.
Whoa, whoa, here we are, drinking from
Yeah,
our coffee.
yeah, yeah.
And it it just tickles me from the very beginning when you told me about it. And
Me too.
I love it. And I love that we're actually now here experiencing it. And there is something like I've had a gazillion Zoom calls and I love them, but
Mhm.
there's something like knowing that you're drinking the same thing I am. It's a different connection.
It- yeah, or another connection or something. Yeah, I notice it as well, and it's just really lovely, and um, and it's not being there with you. It's not hugging, but it's close and close, and it's two or three or four things I love. I love coffee. I love roasting coffee. I love being with people,
Mm.
and yeah, I just love that opportunity to um, adore someone. Yeah, and it's just been great. So I've done
Wow.
it. I've done it with quite a few people now, and it's just been great. So
How many people do you think you've done this with?
12 so far.
Really?
Yeah, 12
And
maybe. And I have another one coming up, and I'll roast the coffee today and mail it on Monday. And this time it's going to be with 2 old friends. We'll be in different places. And
wow.
and yeah, I've done it in multiple states, and yeah, it's just a great way to be with people. I would in my normal life go to lunch with you or meet you in a coffee shop, and I just love that. You know, I love being with people.
And you know, one thing I was thinking about that dropped in for me that is related to this. So one time my boyfriend and I were making dinner and we went to the farmer's market and we talked to each person who grew the food that we bought for the dinner.
Yes.
And when we made that dinner, it was spectacular. And it wasn't our cooking. It wasn't, it was the energy and the story and the love, I think, and that went into each of the items.
Yeah.
And this reminds me of that I feel as if, I don't know how, I'd like to hear what you think, but I feel as if love and energy can carry.
It certainly seems so. It certainly feels like it in this moment.
Yes.
So yeah, that's my experience, and I think that's what I'm reaching out for, and it's working.
Right. And this coffee, I feel like as soon as I had a sip, I was like, oh, this is so good. And maybe it's the beans, but maybe it's also your love.
It's probably a little of both. Yeah.
It's probably a little of both. Let me have a sip while we're talking about it. So here's the thing I also want to say, because everybody I've told this to is like, he roasts his own coffee? Who is this guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so obviously I want to offer people ideas they can do themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Not everybody's a coffee roaster,
Mm-hmm.
but what came up for me is that we could bake muffins or we could bake cookies.
Yes.
Or
that's right. Exchange a recipe and then both bake it. That'd be great. Yeah.
right?
That's a great idea.
Yeah. So let's brainstorm for a minute or two, just because I want people to feel as if this is something that they can do. You know, that it doesn't have to be the coffee or the roasting. It doesn't even have to be food. I mean, maybe it's music. Maybe there's a CD that someone loves and they send it. And then when you get together, that might be a little like cacophony, I guess, if you were both playing it.
Yeah, that could be a little bit, but you could trade one song at a time, and you know, you could play one from the CD, I could play one from the CD, and then it wouldn't be you know, clashing. So
yes,
yeah.
Right.
That'd be great. Yeah.
Or maybe this is just dropping in. Maybe if someone knits, maybe someone makes themselves something that is kind of a match to something that they send a friend.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't know, but I think that what I am so moved by is this idea of there's 2 added layers of love to me. There's the layer that is what you put into sending something to me, right? Like when I received your package, I was like, oh, you know, but then there's also that layer of we're physically sharing something that, right?
Yeah. 3 states apart. Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So is there anything else, like, I'm curious if there's anything else you'd like to share about, for instance, how'd you get this idea?
Well, I learned a long time ago. Well, let me back up a little bit. I've moved a lot in my life.
Okay.
And I learned a long time ago that I can't go to a new town and wait for people to invite me. They don't know me. So I realized a long time ago, I had to become the inviter. And as I began to do that, I really got it that there's a whole world out there waiting to be invited into relationship and waiting to be invited over for dinner. We hold singing circles, so waiting to be invited to sing. You know, people love to sing and they don't get a lot of opportunities. And so I'm the inviter, and I just self-declare that that's my role, and I'm good at it. And so I invite people into relationship, and um, uh, you know, I think most people are as eager as I would be to say yes. You know, I hardly ever get a no. You know, it's just a world. People are much shyer than I used to think. You know, and
Yeah.
so at one point I realized somebody has to shrug that shyness off and say, "Would you like to get together?" And um, you know, I've done it for a long, long, long time now, and it's filled my life with wonderful people. And otherwise, I might well be alone. You know, yeah. I came to Seattle. I'm in Seattle today, and I came here 6.5 years ago, and um, you know, I was a stranger moving to town. You
Yeah.
know, I could I could sit on the front porch and hope people would come by and invite me, but it was a lot more certain for me to become the inviter. And
Wow.
it's a role I take willingly and joyfully.
Sam, I've been talking a lot lately about legacy with people.
Mhm.
And what's coming to me right now is what a beautiful legacy. I know you have many legacies because there's so many aspects of you, but just even this one piece that you're sharing right now, I personally like think there couldn't be a better legacy to leave someone than to be an inviter in life,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I do hope I inspire people, and in fact, I have seen the inspiration. So, and I've been invited back. So,
Oh, you have,
yeah.
right. And obviously, as you know, this touched me so much even before we did it. Now I'm even more a fan, but
Mhm.
so much more so that I want to share it with my own community and with people I know so that they can be inspired to do the same thing.
Mhm.
And I love what you said because I think it's true. And I want to talk about this for just a sec is that shyness or the vulnerability. You know, there is something very vulnerable about issuing an invitation.
Yes,
How how did you, or maybe you didn't have to, but did you need to get over your own vulnerability?
certainly. Oh,
How,
yeah, certainly. Um, I suppose the biggest risk for most people would be rejection,
yeah.
and so certainly I did, and um, I just had to take a breath and do it. And in let's see, 31 years, I think I've been doing this, and I got a handful of no's in 31 years.
Wow.
And it was never rejection. It was um, schedule conflicts, you know,
Oh,
and never ever um, did I have to face that thing of somebody saying, "I don't want to do anything with you," you know.
yeah,
Yeah, but I suppose that's the risk, you know, is that
that's a risk.
yeah, and uh, I I'll even tell you as I've gotten older, I I like to be with younger people, and so at some point I thought, well, there's a risk of being an older person inviting a younger person into relationship, and but it hasn't. It was worry without cause. It hasn't happened yet. So and
Wow.
young people are just as shy, and I think doing what I used to do, hoping to be invited.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, oh, that just brought tears to my eyes thinking it's so true, right? People, we can spend our lives waiting to be invited.
Yes.
And what you're talking about, and it's this, my world is gifts, one of a kind gifts, creative gifts that are really meaningful and heartfelt. And this obviously is a gift that you're talking about. And it's an experiential gift and also a physical one. But I often say that there is that risk, right? There's always the risk that our gift will not be received the way we hoped, but it's who we become in the process. And
Yeah.
that's like what I hear from you, like who you've become over all these years. You're an inviter.
Mhm.
And
I'm
you're
trying
now,
to-
I would guess your life is filled. I mean, you could tell me, but I would guess it's just filled with connection.
Yes, it is. It is. Yeah. And connection and just real sincere love. And
Oh,
I really appreciate that.
wow. Wow.
Mhm. So my favorite experience was one of the first ones where I moved to Stockton, California, and I only knew Suzanne, uh, my wife now. She lived there at the time, and I was telling her we have to create a community, and so we were going to Unity Church at the time, and there was this couple about our age that they just stood out to me, and
Hmm.
so I said we have to ask them to lunch. So I did, and of course they said yes, and um, about 6 months later, I had a job, and I was going through some papers, and I looked down and saw this signature, and it was the man that I had invited, and I had replaced him in that job. And I didn't know it at the time. And
What?
so, yeah, he had had my job before me. And yeah, I always found that kind of amazing that I managed to spot and invite a man and woman into our life who'd had the same job as me. I had no idea at the time. And yeah, so I've always just thought, wow, you know, that is a kind of a remarkable thing too.
That is definitely remarkable. Yeah. I love that. Well, I know we want to have our own coffee chat outside of this official one, but is there anything else before we close that, maybe an encouragement to people or anything that you want to share?
Um, I would say this just to take a breath and say we aren't different in our shyness. We're the same in our shyness, and that that the people that you wish would invite you are waiting for you to invite them. And um, I think if we can just kind of embrace our own shyness and not be unique in it, we're not unique. It's kind of universal, and so take a breath, take a risk, walk up to somebody and say, "Would you like to have a cup of coffee with me sometime?" Or would you like to go to dinner or come over for dinner? Or like in our case, would you like to come over and sing? And it's worth the risk.
I love
You,
that.
yeah.
I just have one thing to add myself because you just made me remember something. Someone told me earlier this week a phrase that goes through her head all the time, which is, "This is just not what we do," which is in reference to sort of how she was brought up and how her people brought her up.
Yeah.
And what's coming up for me is that it's so essential that we can sort of set that aside, any of those, because what you're talking about is a world on the other side of that. You know, it's a world of love and connection and meaning out on the other side of, oh no, you know, I couldn't do that.
Yeah, it's not what we do, it's not who we are. And the phrase that I say 10 times a week to people is, it's what I do, it's who I am.
Oh,
And I actually say that, you know, and have for many, many years. It's what I do, it's who I am. And I say it about a lot of different things. And I think it is exactly what you're kind of hinting at there. It's my own really almost unwillingness to accept that shyness and isolation is what I do and who I am. I'm not willing to accept that anymore. Yeah. So,
oh.
and you know, at my age, I better not.
Sam, you don't even look that old. It's funny you keep saying you're older. You have
Well,
such,
you know, I'll be 70 in a couple of months, and so you know, people are dropping like flies around me. So, and so I think that, you know, that whatever time I get to live, and I would love to live a long life. You know, I saw a man on the news yesterday, 107 years old, and I'd love that, to be 107. You know, I'd love to live to 2057, and I just think that'd be great. And but I've got X amount of time left. I love people. I better get to inviting. So, I better get to inviting. You know, and I better invite young people to sing so I can learn new music, and um, and trust that when I look across the room and I see something in someone, whatever it is, aura or I don't know, you know, a familiarity,
yeah.
that I can trust that uh, traction, you know, that in the whole room of people, it's that person that stood out, you know, and I could trust that, and and walk over there and stick my hand out and say, "Hi, I'm Sam Beasley," so, and start that process.
You know, I keep saying we're going to end this conversation, but I can't, because now I just thought of something else from what you said, that aside from physically sending someone coffee or a recipe or something, you just inspired me also to think, like, I also talked to someone earlier this week who used to sing, but she doesn't sing anymore. And she could invite someone on a Zoom call, just like you're saying, invite someone to sing. That just, like, we could invite someone to do something that we love to do that maybe has gotten a little bit lost to us, and it would be a safe place because we'd handpick someone.
Mm-hmm.
And what a beautiful thing to do, right? Like, maybe we want to paint and we're not painting and we just get on a Zoom call.
Yes. Yeah. It could be many different things. I'll give you an example. A friend of mine, she wants to keep good financial records, but she finds it difficult to do it alone. So for a long, long time, she's been calling someone every Saturday morning, and they sit together on the phone,
Oh,
do their financial records. And sometimes they're talking and sometimes they're not, but the phone line is open, and the connection is there, and they're not doing it alone. Um, I just love that.
this is so wonderful. You know what? This is one of my favorite things about life, right? Like, we start in one, like, I was excited to have coffee and talk to you about the gift of coffee. But then I love how it just opens up and broadens, right? So that it becomes this, you know, multifaceted way of an invitation to people of all kinds.
Mhm.
And it's so beautiful. I love this. I can't wait to share this with people. And I'm so grateful. And I'm going to officially say goodbye, but don't you go anywhere, because we
Okay.
have our coffee clutch.
Okay.
But thank you. And goodbye to the people who are watching this beautiful video.
I hope we meet in person.
Oh boy, Sam. I honestly, like, that was so touching.
Yeah, and it's great for me to be with you.
Thank you. So,
Yeah.
I love who you are. You're so cool.
Yeah, I was telling Suzanne after our first interview that I wanted to be you. I just wanted, I wanted that energy that you have, you know, of immediately seeing the value in something, you know, and yeah, you know, I think I'm often slower, you know, to come to it, you know, and so anyway, I always wanted to be you.
Yeah, this is the sweetest thing. Thank you. You know, it, I think you might know this, but maybe you don't. But I was suicidal in my younger days.
As was I.
And you were too?
Mhm.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm an old drug addict, alcoholic, and yeah, so about 34 and a half years ago, I set, we are not recording now, right?
Oh, you know what? Let me stop it.
Okay.
I'm glad you said that. I completely forgot.